Hey guys, it's Sally Slay House, and this is my Mad Hatter hat. So I started out with getting a circular foam board and some cardboard that I cut into a smaller circle. I'm lining those up and using the foam for the base of the hat and the cardboard for the top of the hat. And I'm just using some wooden skewers because I'm big on using what I have. So anyways, I'm cutting the skewers to the height that I want them, and I'm attaching them to the top of the hat. I also drew a circle on the foam just to line up where I'm going to put the sticks, and this is going to be the base of my hat. I'm trying to use the lightest materials that I can because I want this wig to be comfortable and last without collapsing. I had this mesh hairnet, so I decided to wrap it around this foam and attach it with some hot glue. I love a glue gun because the glue dries really quickly and you can continue working on the project that you're working on without a long drying period. So I just attached the mesh to the foam and I'm trying to stick the skewers into the circle, and it was a lot harder than I expected it to be. So I'm sticking in one, sticking in the other, going back and sticking in the first one. But whatever, do what works for you. I'm just trying to get it in there, and when I finally get everything in place, I just grab my glue gun and I'm just gluing a little bit on the top and bottom of all of these skewers to make sure everything is nice and secure. Once I got everything in place, I flipped the hat the right side up and I'm just gluing down the rest of this mesh. I just use a mesh to make a bit of a wall around the edges so that I have something to attach onto. I'm just trying to give myself, lightweight options to secure the project I need to secure. I need this hat to stay up. I don't want it to be heavy, so I'm honestly just using whatever I have laying around the house to make it happen because I'm not into buying a whole bunch of supplies every time you have an idea to do something crafty. Use what you have, and if you're the type of person that's creative and you do crafts all the time, you probably have something that you can use for something else. So honestly, it doesn't matter if it looks pretty at this point. This is not what you're going to see at the end, so it doesn't really matter to me. Next up, we have the decorations for the side of the hat. So I'm using some more skewers again and some random gems I had from Caravana one year. And I made 3 different sticks, 3 different designs. It's exactly how I drew them down on my sketch. I probably should show you my sketch because honestly what it looks like in the beginning and how it turns out, it's hilarious because I'm not good at drawing, guys. But anyways, I wanted these to be gold decals at the side of the hat, so I'm just painting them gold because again, the sticks are really lightweight, the gems are lightweight, and then I'm painting it gold, so I'm giving it the effect that I want, but I'm making it as lightweight as possible. So now I grabbed some regular braiding hair, and again, I had it lying around. It was a partially used pack from some other time. You could see a chunk cut out that I used in the past, but whatever, it's the color that I wanted, that's what matters. So I'm using this hat to wrap the hat in hair because I want my hat made out of hair. I'm not doing things to do things just like everybody else. I wanted to do something a little bit different, so this was the vision I had. So anyways, I'm just wrapping this hair around the base and gluing it as I go, trying to make it as neat, as flat as possible. And honestly, the base wasn't super straightforward, but I started to get the hang of it eventually, and it got easier as I went along. So now I'm adding some hair to the top of the hat. I'm just trying to make it flat. I'm wrapping it around the sides because I'm trying to give the sides more of an anchor, just so that when I'm wrapping around the perimeter of the hat, it makes it easier for me. But honestly, it wasn't easy doing it this way. I added some, I cut some off, I left some there, I added some more, cut some more. Honestly, it was like trial and error at this point. Alright, I turned this hat over so the top could flatten out for a bit and I could think about it, and I started to add some hair to the bottom, so I figured because this was just a flat circle, I would just glue the hair down in a circle. That seemed like it made the most sense to me. So started going in a circle. I'm just working my way around and around and around, and honestly, what happens happens. Now I'm just going around the edges of the hat, and I'm just working on covering as much white as I can at this point and trying to keep all the spots covered. And also, you don't want to use too much glue in one spot because then the glue shows through, so it's like you're hiding the white part, you're hiding the glue, sticking the hair down. Do what you can to make it flat because honestly, you can smooth it out later and it's not really a big deal. I decided I wanted a more solid structure around the sides, so I used some tissue paper and paper mache. And I'm just paper maching around the sides of the hat because I just wanted a stronger base to be able to lay the hair for the sides, but I also wanted to keep it super lightweight. So I figured paper mache would be a good option because glue guns, like hot glue, sticks onto paper, obviously. So this was a good option for me. You gotta obviously let it dry completely before you continue the gluing, but it kind of worked out because I was already using paper mache on another project and I had some left over in my bowl, and I was like, I'm gonna paper mache this hat because it's gonna make it easier. Anyways, I let that dry overnight and now I'm adding glue to the sides. I wanted the hair to be all flowing in the same direction, so I folded the hair over and I'm just laying it down and gluing as I go so I could just kind of keep the hair flowing in one direction. So I'm just going around and around. I flipped it to make it easier for the camera to see, and I'm just smoothing it down as I go. And honestly, this is super simple and straightforward, and this was a lot easier than the top and the bottom of the hat for me for sure. At this point, I go ahead and do a larger section now that I'm comfortable and I'm confident with what I'm doing. It's flowing nice and easy, and keeping everything flowing in the same direction just makes it so much easier and flatter to lay it down. So I'm just going around and around a little bit at a time, and I'm gluing as I go. I only have small glue guns, not one of those big giant ones, so I had to plug in my second glue gun, so I'm using two at a time just to have the glue keep up with me because I was going faster than the glue could get hot basically. But whatever, if I have to use 5 glue guns at a time, I will. So I'm just going around and around, laying it flat, trying to cover up any gaps as I go along. So at this point, because the hat is pretty much covered, I'm just going around, taking a double look, any little gaps, filling in. If there's any spots of glue, I'm filling it in, and just adding hair anywhere that hair needed to be added before I do the final smooth over and then continue on to the next step. And all those white spots is exactly what I mean by filling in the spots you need to fill in, because as full as you make it, there's still going to be little gaps, and you just go around bit by bit and fill in everything you can fill in so the hat looks nice and smooth and flat. And honestly, look at it now compared to the beginning. It's really coming along nice, and I'm super happy because I haven't spent any money on this hat really so far other than buying that one styrofoam board because everything else I had already. So here I have some braids that I already steamed to make them nice and flat. I basically made my own crochet braids. I used a pole, wrapped some braiding hair around. I wanted to make the stripe on this hat pink instead of orange because it's girly, it's cute, and I wanted it really custom and one of a kind. I used a white piece of cardboard on the side and wrote the 10-6, and then I added my sticks. has like the gold decals on the side, and I'm just going around gluing it, making it nice and flat. And I use like a light pink and a dark pink because I just wanted some shabam shabam. So I'm just going over, and now I'm trying to figure out how to make my bow in the back. So for the bow, I'm just adding in some more braids because I want to make it as full as I want it to be. And I wanted to make the bow itself with like some longer pieces of braids just so I can make the bows nice and big and cute. And I'm kind of figuring out what I wanted to do. I decided to use some clear thread, and I'm sewing the two braids for the bows together because I want them side by side and I want them to stay in place so that when I make the bows they don't like flop or separate. I wanted the two strands of color of the braids to stay together. So I'm just stitching down the two braids to keep them nice and looking good basically. And then I form my bow from there. A little bit of trial and error because I'm just making sure it's placed where I want it to be. And then I glue it down where I want it. And if you need to sew a little bit, you can sew too. Honestly, this clear thread is really versatile and it's super helpful with a lot of different projects. Once I get my bows where I want them to be, the ending I just wrapped in a roller. I'm dipping it in hot water. Obviously, to set it, I let it dry completely before I take the roller out, and that's going to be the little piece of like the ribbon at the back of the hat that flows down. I'm using a braid instead of the ribbon basically. And now I'm just using some more paper mache mix, and I'm just going over the hat and flattening down any flyaways, flattening down my sign to make sure that the size sign on the side stays. And the paper mache is a really good option for this just because you don't want to steam it because it's cardboard. So yeah, even though synthetic hair you usually steam, I was like, how can I solidify this hair without steaming it and compromising the texture? So that's what I decided to do. Anyway, now I added a piece of wire that I bent in the shape of the head underneath the hat. I'm using that clear thread again to sew it down and secure it. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue gun it because I want that anchor for the hat to be secure. And that's how I'm going to attach the hat to the wig itself because they're going to be all together in one piece. I'm not going to have them as two separate pieces. I don't want to be going out for Halloween night and the hat falling off or anything like that. So I'm making sure I secure the hat to the wig. I just got a really cheap synthetic wig, ordered it online, and now I'm giving it some shabam shabam because the Mad Hatter needs to be looking mad, not too perfect. So I'm just teasing it, tousling it, and just giving it a bit more of a vibe. Shaking it, putting it upside down, putting in some hairspray, and then I'm going to position the hat where I want the hat. Boom, here's my finale. Hope you like it. Check me out on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever you need. It's Sally Slay House. Drop a comment, drop a like.